Hi, I'm Lisa Bradshaw. Thanks for joining me on the show today. So how sometimes you're friends with someone who you've worked with on a project or worked with at work, and then you don't see each other for whatever reason for a long time, but every time you see them, you're like, wow, I want to talk to you longer. I want to hear about your life. I see you on Facebook, and some people are more real than others, and my guest today is really real on there. And so I'm talking with Sharmen Dye. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I am fascinated by your journey to expanded motherhood, starting with one, and we'll get to how many you have now.
Okay.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, I want to ask you about, where your life was. We're going to talk about your journey to expanded motherhood, to all the children you have now. But where were you in your life when things are changing, and what about your life got you to that point?
I've been thinking about that, and I honestly don't know. It just kind of evolved. I literally didn't want to have kids. I wanted to be a doctor, and I just wanted to stay focused and do my thing, and it's changed, and I'm thankful for that.
So you started out, so you're married. How long have you been married?
24 years.
Wow, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
24 years you've been married, and you have a son, and you had one child for a very long time.
10 years.
10 years, and that was fulfilling. And how did you make the transition to saying, I don't want kids, to now I have one kid, and we'll get to the next part? So, it changes over time.
It evolves over time. It was just something my husband and I decided, we should be a family.
So then you had the one, and you had him for a long time all by himself.
Only child, only grandchild. Kind of spoiled.
Did you think that you would just have the one?
Yeah, that we stayed very active, but seeing that he was an only child, and it's hard. He didn't have a whole lot of cousins to play with, and he kind of felt like he was lonely and that he needed to get a little uncomfortable in the world, if you will.
Some people love being an only child. My son is an only child, and now he has 5 roommates at college. I can't wait to hear, about how that goes. I think that it'll really teach him some things about himself, yes. Right? To have to share his space and all of that.
Yeah.
So he was 10 years old when life shifted for you. Let's talk a little bit about that.
So my husband and I kind of came to a crossroads, and we decided that we should expand our family. And so I had always have a heart for kids. Even though I didn't want kids, I always had a heart for kids.
Like a really nice auntie, right?
I'm an amazing aunt. And so, we just thought, foster's kind of interest. And prior to being a foster parent, I was a guardian ad litem. And so I volunteered with CASA, and I really kind of enjoyed that.
Let's talk about what you do when you're in that role.
So a guardian ad litem, or a CASA, you're kind of a voice for the child. When you go to court, you learn about all of the legal processes of the foster system, and you're working with the kids, the foster parents, and the biological parents, and the logistics around that. I did that for several years because.
So you're advocating for the child.
Exactly.
And you build a relationship with the child.
Yes. Oh yeah, weekly, often visits, if not more.
So that's where you started.
Yeah.
And how long had you been doing that? So how old was your son when you started getting involved in that?
About 5 years. I was working in surgery at the time, and that's kind of, I only had time to do that. I'd use my lunch break to go up to Waterville for court and be with the kids, but that really, I kind of found out that's where my heart was. The kids.
And foster care specifically. Okay, so now Spencer, your son, was 10 years old, and you decided, maybe I want more kids.
Yes. So we went into this journey, and we didn't really know what it was going to look like. I'm kind of a just fly with it type of person, so we went with an open adoption agreement, not thinking that we were going to go right into adoption, but we did.
So you decided to be a foster parent?
Yes.
So you're a foster parent, and tell me a little bit about that process. Was any of it overwhelming? What did you do? Some people are watching don't know how to become a foster parent.
It was not overwhelming for me because I had the guardian ad litem experience in the CASA, and my husband was kind of contralaterally involved with that. So he met, some of the kids, and we do, a lot of volunteer stuff with the program and the local kids. But as far as logistics and what that looks like behind the scenes as a parent, I think that might have been a little overwhelming for him. Lots of classes that we had to go through, and just shifts within our home, making sure that we were prepared to do that. And deciding what age group worked best for us, because we both do work full-time, and we had a 10-year-old son, so we needed to be strategic about what our license was going to look like.
And what did you decide? How did you come to that decision?
That I'm an active person, and I decided probably babies were not my thing, which is funny because most people that want to adopt, they want to have babies. And I'm like, no, I'm okay with the older kids. You know, I was kind of looking for someone a little bit older. We let Spencer, my son, kind of have a part of this. We did this as a family, and he's like, oh, I want a boy, I don't want a sister. I don't know what to do with girls. I'm like, okay. So not that we chose gender necessarily, but our preference were, you know, for a placement somewhere around close to the same age as Spence, and a boy if at all possible. I have a lot of energy, and so I kind of chose that my strengths would be working with kids that maybe could keep up, that didn't have maybe special needs, and ADHD type kiddos. That's probably not the best fit for me. Even though I have a lot of energy, I'm very directed in that. So I knew that that wasn't my strength, and so I was able to kind of define that up front and say that might need the best placement elsewhere.
And some of the kids that I mean, you know, there's a lot of them, so it's okay to say that's not going to work for me.
Yeah, I knew, and having worked with them before through the CASA program, you know, a lot of the kids have had a really hard time, and it's, you know, they might have a lot of behavioral issues, and I was prepared for that. So I knew what my strengths and my weaknesses are, where I could help. So
we're going to take a break. I'm talking with Sharmen Dye. I want to help, she's going to share her story with you, her continued story. Where we are now, you have one 10-year-old, and we'll get to how many children they have now in just a moment. We'll be back.
So Pam, how's your mom doing?
She's okay. She's struggling. She'd like to stay in her house, and it's getting harder for her to do the daily chores.
What kinds of problems is she having?
Just basic house cleaning, you know, taking care of her house, yard work, taking care of her medicine.
It does sound exhausting.
It is very exhausting, and I always worry about her.
Aging in Adult Care can assist you or your loved one to remain comfortably and safely in their own home. Contact them today to start the conversation.
Hi, we're back. I'm Lisa Bradshaw. Thanks for watching the show. We've been talking with Sharmen Dye. And as I said at the beginning of the show, she's someone who is just an absolute inspiration about I knew her before the topic we're talking about when she expanded her family, and I've known her since. And seeing how you go about it has been, I marvel at it from afar. You know, being the mom of an only child. So before we went to break, we know now that you have decided to foster children. You worked with CASA before, so you had an idea of what you were going to be, you know, in for, so to speak, or how you were going to be of help. And then your son was 10 years old, so he was wanting, hopefully, another boy in the house somewhat close to his age. And you talked about also wanting a child who fit your needs, so your active family, and you knew what your strengths and weaknesses were.
Exactly.
So now you're to the process, right? So those steps are, you've kind of decided what you want for your family, what you hope for your family, and then you had to prepare your home.
Yes.
And take classes.
Yes.
And I mean, it's a big commitment.
Yes.
So what happens next?
You just kind of wait. You know, you get, you know, excited. Oh, you know, when we're going to get our first call, and it happened actually pretty quick. The department actually
pretty quick, like a day, a week, a month.
Probably within a few weeks.
Okay.
So the department knew me because I, you know, knew most of the social workers, and they knew that we were, you know, what kind of family we were, and that I was ready to go when they were.
Did you go into it just saying foster? Because I know some people go into it hoping to adopt a child.
We, as I had mentioned, our license looked like a foster license, but we weren't opposed necessarily to adoption. So it wasn't necessarily.
You're taking a step at a time.
You know, it is what it is.
Depends on the fit.
So
right?
yeah, it just depends on the fit. We really didn't have any premeditated thoughts on that.
So then you went ahead and you're now ready to foster. You get the call in a couple weeks. So go ahead. What happens next?
So this particular kiddo, he was already within the system, and he was about a boy. He was about Spencer's age, and they're like, hey, you know, he's, you know, in a situation where they need to move towards permanency, which would be adoption. And, you know, are you interested? So, of course, we're like, oh, that's like perfect. And so when something like that happens, it looks different for each situation. He lived locally, so we had some visits and kind of did something called a transition. He'd spend some weekends and making sure it was a good fit for everybody. And especially my son, I was very mindful of making sure that looked healthy for him, which was our intent, to grow a healthy family.
Right.
And not completely rock his world.
Right, right.
And so, you know, in about 3 months' time, we're like, yeah, this is a good good fit. So
it wasn't like they called you up and they brought into your house that night because it was an emergent placement or something. You weren't. That wasn't your role as a foster parent.
That was not that particular
you were not
situation.
Yeah. Okay. So not that time. So then he comes into your family then after about 3 months of making sure it's a good fit. And what was that like? How did you adjust? What was it?
You know, I think it's a hard adjustment for everybody. It was overwhelming, I think, for both of the boys coming from getting to that situation of being, they kind of knew each other, so they were playmates, and then all of a sudden we're a family and they're brothers. And
oh, they knew each other like maybe
during the transition.
Okay.
So that we'd play and we'd have a lot of fun. But then when you're in a living situation, it gets real.
Sharing your house, sharing your space, sharing your bathroom, sharing your mom and dad.
Grandma, grandpa. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. So you did it though.
We did it.
Now, did that situation end up permanent?
Yep. He's adopted. Yep.
So how long did that take?
He was considered legally free. Not all of the kids are
from the time you got him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was already in a pre-adoptive type situation. So not all the kiddos are in that situation. He was. So that process was about less than a year.
How long did it take you to know that you wanted to adopt him?
You know, pretty right away. We kind of like, this is a good fit. It's what we signed up for. It couldn't have been more perfect. He's close to our son's age within a year. And he's a boy, healthy. He's a great fit for our family. And we're just like, okay, this was meant to be.
You kind of just know, just like when you meet the right guy or girl maybe,
just
hopefully. Or have the right job, whatever it is. Okay, so you have one and you're thinking, this is great and it's all fitting in our family.
Yes.
And so then what happens?
Man, we did great having 2 kids. We traveled, we had so much fun, kept the house clean.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, we'll keep our license open and maybe do some respite, which is, you can help out some kids like you talked about an emergency placement or other foster parents for the weekend or a week, just to, give them a break. And so we kept our license open, still hadn't closed the adoption door, but we renewed our license and it was probably about 6 months later, we get another call. And prior to becoming a foster parent, I worked in surgery, so general surgery, so I had medical experience. And this call, unfortunately, was a really horrific child abuse case, and it was a brother and sister, and they needed someone that could take care of a little girl that had some really bad things happened to her, and she had bilateral skin grafts, and so they needed a foster parent in Washington State that could do this out of jurisdiction. So they called me because they knew me at the department.
Needed to take care of her wounds.
Yes. Yeah. And the alternative would have been a very long stay over at Harborview. Looking at 6 months without family, alone, and her brother was ready to be discharged. So. Okay.
So did her brother come with her, or
yes?
So you got both of them at that time?
Not at the exact time. We got her brother first. He was ready to be discharged, so we would go back and forth.
You did that knowing she'd come later?
Yeah, knowing that it was package deal, if you will.
And that must have been so...
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, for them to be apart. But also, did she get comfort knowing that she'd be with him soon? I mean, healing is so important, and how do you do that as a kid when you're stressed as well? So
she's amazing. She was 4. Loves attention, and the nurses just spoiled the heck out of her.
How old was he? Older
8
brother?
at the time.
Okay, so older brother.
Yeah.
So, so she joins. They both join your family, and are they permanently placed with you?
They are adopted.
So you see the trend here. You see where we're going with this.
I don't know how to say no.
I know. So you have them. So you have 3 adopted children. How long were they with you before you adopted them?
It was a little bit longer process. We went through the healing process, and then unfortunately, because it was a child abuse case, they were with us probably close to 2 years. We wanted to make sure that we were supporting them through the legal battles, and that was a lengthy process. And by that time, they're part of the family. You're going on 2.5 years there.
Were you ever afraid that you'd get attached like that? In the first situation, you already knew the option to adopt was there. Is that part of the scary part once you're really vested?
Yes and no. I've always just kind of had the thought, and maybe it was from my nursing background, it's do what you can with what you have while you have it. My heart is to help these kids, and if it's in the cards for them to go or stay, as long as it's in a safe environment, I know that what I'm doing is,
getting them to that place.
Getting them to that point. Right. So I just kind of felt like that was my
Because ideally they don't go back to their old life until someone else in their family has stepped up and they're safe. Going to be safe in that place.
Just so many logistics.
Yes, so many factors to consider. So then you have 3 children that you've adopted. You have your son, who is now how old?
He was probably 13, about the time it was finalized, 13, 14.
For all 3 kids. How's he feeling now at that point?
Well, he was digging having another brother. He could bounce off, you know, good day, bad day with the brothers. And then there's this girl.
Nobody knew what to do with her.
Including me. Thank goodness she has curly hair, and I didn't have to do a whole lot. That was a huge adjustment for me because I've never had a girl.
Right.
Pink, she's very, very girl. Pink was like, confusing for me.
So you had to grow and change too. And your husband now
as
at this point, he's like, okay, we have 4 kids now. And he was doing okay too. You 2 of you together were all signed up.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah, all signed up. When we come back, we'll talk more with Sharmen Dye. We'll find out exactly how many children she and her husband have today and how it's enriched and impacted their lives. Be back in just a moment.
Dear Mary Maids, just got home from a trade show and I didn't have time to pick up the house. Kids made chili. Jeff did a mud run. Oh, and Winston shredded Teddy's bed. Again, please clean it the best you can. Oh, except for the statue Max made for me. Thanks, Abby.
Hi, Abby. Clean kitchen, clean bath, clean floor, naughty cat, poor Teddy. The statue is precious. You should keep it forever. See you next time, Mary Maids.
Hi, we're back. You're watching Life with Lisa Bradshaw. Thanks for tuning in. We're talking with Sharmen Dye today. She is a mother. At the beginning of the show, you know, she had 1 child only, and now we're up to 4 total. 4 total. So just as a recap, you had 1 child, he was 10 years old, and since then you've adopted 3 more.
Correct.
So, and we're about 5 years into that part of the story, right?
About 3.5.
Okay, so you have, so you had your son, you've adopted 3 more children, 2 of them were siblings.
Correct.
One, the 2 that you adopted together had a pretty catastrophic injuries from child abuse, so you worked through that together. So they're in your home, and at this point, do you think you're done?
Yeah, that's kind of my limit. You know, I work and I'm busy, and kids are busy and they're active and they're healthy, and we're just plugging along. But we kept our license open for that year,
just in case.
We just didn't. I mean, it was going to expire, so we just weren't going to renew.
So then, how long after that decision, when in doubt, do nothing indecision, did you get another call? We
did. So in that gap between not renewing our license, it was Memorial Day, and I was out for a run, and they're like, hey, it's 5 o'clock. You want to take a baby? And I'm like, no, I'm not licensed for babies. They're like, it's 5 o'clock, it's Memorial Day weekend.
When you say baby, what age?
8 months.
Okay.
8
so
months.
A baby.
A baby, yes. So remind you, my last baby's, he's in 13, 14 now, and so it's been a while. So yes, I showed up to the department, and she's beautiful.
Dang it.
Absolutely beautiful. And they're like, okay, thank you so much. You know what to do? And I'm like, don't have anything. So they gave me a car seat. I put it in backwards.
You need some diapers. And, the goods change as they get older, in terms of what they need or what the laws are for that.
Yeah, I literally had nothing. She had, a couple little outfits, that she showed up with at the department. I pick her up, put the car seat in finally, right? And
well, we've had someone from that department on the show talking about how much they need those things donated, so that when a child comes in that situation, they have what they need to at least get started.
So,
go ahead.
I pick her up, and I had to go pick my son up, my biological son.
Yeah, we got to keep him straight.
Pick him up from basketball practice, and he's like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "It's a baby." It's like, "Is she staying?"
He's like, "We didn't agree to a baby."
I know, just for the weekend. I said, "I don't have anything for a baby," So we're gonna get home, and I'm gonna run to Fred Meyer. They stay open until 11, and we're gonna go get some stuff.
Wow.
So we did.
And so tell me what that was like. What was that? It was a long weekend, so you had some time to kind of adjust. You didn't have to rush off to work or anything. But
no.
But what did you do? I mean, it's like riding a bike?
It all came back. The not sleeping, the diapers, the crying, the adjustment. Everyone just wanted to see the baby. She was just the highlight of everything, and she just brought so much joy, actually.
So then, did she stay?
She hasn't left from that day.
And how old is she now?
She just started kindergarten this week.
So that's 5, 6.
She's 5.
Almost 6.
Almost 6.
Okay. So then, What happened for you to make that decision? Because now you've got older kids. You're done with helping a baby in and out of the seat, or kids at all in and out of the seat. I mean, that's a big. I remember when, getting out of the car seat thing was a nice transition because they could just get in the car themselves and buckle up.
I bought a Suburban.
Oh, yeah, you have to. Or take 2 cars everywhere you go.
So, yeah, our family, the logistics changed. We had to get a crib and daycare because I do work, and, it changed. But we made it work because it was important. So,
how long did it take till you could adopt her?
Well, she was kind of a package deal because when we got her, we found out that she has a sissy that was placed in another foster home. And, we were moving towards long-term placement with her. And Sissy needed to be placed with her.
How old is Sissy?
Sissy was 2.5. And
so toddler.
Toddler.
And a toddler.
So, yeah. And so.
So did you know, okay, so when you took her in and she's 8 months old, you know that you're going to probably take in her sister that's 2.5, she's 2.5 years old. But at this point, you didn't know you were going to keep them both.
No, we had.
You just thought, we'll
my
give them a safe place.
Expired.
Yeah, okay. You keep saying that, but I don't know. Is it expired now?
Yes.
Oh, really, for sure?
Yes.
Okay. So then at some point, you make the decision to keep them. How far into that was it?
That process is a little bit longer. It was probably closer to about 8 months because it just, there's some logistics of, you never know if they're going to be a temporary placement or move towards permanency. This turned out to be permanency for both of them. So they each have their individual parenting plans, and even though they're siblings, they don't necessarily
They're
concurrently go together.
People, right?
Yep, 2 different people. Sometimes there's multiple moms or dads involved in this situation. They had the same mom and dad. So.
Okay, so now you have 6 children.
I have 6 kids.
So at the beginning of the show, we were saying that you had 1, and I didn't want to just right away say that there's 6 because that's the whole story, is how you get from, you're just going to have you didn't want kids at all.
I didn't want kids.
Then you have your only child for 10 years, which I can relate to, and to have added 5 more kids to my plate would have been an interesting journey for sure, so that's why I wanted to have you on. So now you're a family of 6, and tell me, what is that like? And does it just seem like it's the way it was always supposed to be?
Yeah, it really, 3 boys, 3 girls. They range from age 5 to 20, and every kid is healthy and doing their own thing, and it's definitely not normal. There's chaos and there's noise, but we get it done.
Yeah.
We get it done.
And so what would you say to someone, I've had members of the organization on about foster care and advice to becoming a foster parent, and that, you can go on a website and read about how to do that. So we'll save that, we'll encourage you to do that if you have a heart for it. But the reality, we have just 2 minutes left. The reality is, what can you expect to gain and maybe even lose along the way? What do you got to kind of be okay with?
Rolling with things. You don't know the whole story. We will never know the whole story of all of our children. So you can't plan like you would, biological or even a blended family, because you don't know what's coming. So you just kind of, like I said earlier, do what you can with what you have while you have it, and just roll with it, and it all works out.
So you had the experience of raising a child from birth and seeing what that's like, and even that you have to roll with, right? So then you add 5 other children with, like you said, multiple parents you're dealing with, multiple families, multiple issues that they come to you with, and you've just learned to do it.
Yep.
So we have 1 minute left. So what advice would you give to someone right now if they're watching and they think, I think I could at least take on 1. Where to start?
Where to start? Definitely check out your resources and know what your strengths and weaknesses are. I think there's a fit for everybody, for every kid and for every parent. And just come to grips of who and what you are, and go from there.
And that changed for you, because you started out saying no babies.
Yep, it
and
changed.
Then you got the babies. You might not have been able to do that right out the gate.
No, I wouldn't have.
It was a process.
Yep.
Well, I really appreciate you being here. Like I said, I admire you from afar all the time. I see what you're doing, and I see it on Facebook, and social media, some people just aren't showing the true stuff, and you show all the grit and all, and that raising kids is hard, but you do it with such grace. So I just thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Is your vehicle in need of a quick oil change or tune-up before hitting the road this summer? Stop by Quick Lube and Tune, the home of the good guys at 610 South Wenatchee Avenue.